Welcome to another episode of Rap Drinks. Today we've got Anni Abbruzzese. I don't know how to say
Anni Abbruzzese.
Yeah, it's a crazy. You got that last name. So I met you on Castle Rock when you were trying to hide from all the other PAs by ducking into a room on the second floor of a building, and I was in a lift right outside your window.
And you scared the absolute shit out of me.
You got very embarrassed immediately.
Turn around in this dirty old building, and then there's like Bert in a basket. I'm like, ah!
I mean, that's just terrifying in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's like trying to like not be on set and like piss anyone off, and then like you turn around and you're like,
He's just
like,
there.
Chilling outside the window.
Literally, it's like,
Hey.
How long were you waiting for her to turn around so you could wave?
Oh no, it was like
it's like.
Annie came through the door and like shut it and like leaned on the door next to it and closed their eyes.
I don't remember that.
And then I was like, this is gonna be hilarious. But now you're actually in the camera department.
I am, and that was the job that I flipped into the camera department.
Do you want to talk about that? Like, how did you get pulled in?
I always say that I got really, really lucky, but like it took a lot of hard work. But circumstances were right. But I was a first team PA on a job, and about halfway through, because town was busy, the utility on that got an opportunity to bump up to loader on a different job. And because of that, and because I'd showed interest in camera and had been talking to the ACs and stuff, they knew who I was. They knew I was interested in camera, and they were interested in stealing me from the production side of things to train me up to be the utility on that job. And it was a trial by fire experience, and luckily I didn't mess up so bad that they were like, okay, no, maybe not this one. Yeah. But it was like 3 months into a job. By happenstance, the utility was leaving, and I was able to step up and fill that role, get my 30 days, and get into 600. Like, relatively easy compared to some other people's stories about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask how long it took. Like, I guess you had to warm up to them long enough for them to have that confidence in you to be like, let's pull her in. She seems like she's got it.
I was the first team PA on a job, and the second on that job was kind of like, they're a hard worker. They like have expressed interest in camera, and like they don't seem annoying. So like he legitimately
that's number one.
That was that. Yeah, reverse that.
He legitimately said that to me. It was just like, I don't know. He's like, you don't seem like you're too good for the rest of the production, even though you're the first team PA and you're dealing with talent. And he is like, you seem like a hard worker and you have your stuff together. You seem organized, and I like that. I want to give you a trial run essentially. And then my first day as a utility was in a sand pit, in that construction set, in a sand pit, and just like running cable in the dirt, and just I didn't mess up too bad, and they're like, okay, we'll keep you. And I did 3 months of that, and then it was kind of like from there, like, and it was a good time too, because there wasn't a lot of utilities yet at that point. Like, people had just like moved up, like, so a lot of people who were loader utilities had just moved up to seconding, and like everyone had just kind of slid up, and so there was this opening. There was only like 2 or 3 utilities / like loaders in town, I believe, at the time, if I can.
This is the Boston area.
The Boston area, yeah. It was because it's a smaller town, so I just like was able to kind of fit a niche that was needed.
How did you let the people on that job know that you were interested, or in general, like at the jobs previous to that, like how, like that skill of
it's a very important skill, and it's something that I've told every PA who's come up to me and been like, hey, I'm really interested in camera. I'm like, that's so cool. You want to introduce yourself to the rest of the camera department as well, but it's really important to like get the timing right. It's really important to be like, oh, they're all leaning on the lens cart and kind of just like on their phones. Now's the time where I can just be like, hey, hello, I'm interested in camera. I think it was just like a quiet moment, and I pulled the utility. It's very easy, especially when you're a PA. You're younger, you find the youngest person in the department to be like, hey, I'd also like to be where you are right now.
Grumpy old guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, maybe I won't talk to the person who's the same age as my dad. I will talk to the person who looks like they also recently got out of college, or like also like recently just like are trying to like break into the industry. Yep. And are clearly like, maybe a notch or two above me at this point. But Maddie was the one who I reached out to and was just like, happened to have a conversation on set with her at the time, and was like, oh, I'm interested in camera as well. Like, I'm still pretty new, but I'm working towards that. And she's like, okay, I'll keep. And in the conversation, decided that she liked me enough or whatever. And she told one of her bosses, and at a different point, like, he kind of like pulled me over one time and was just like, he's like, do you know what this part of the camera is? Or like, do you know what, like a little thing, like tested a little knowledge about like stops. Like a lens. It was something like silly like that. I think it was like the ASA or something, like something really, really is like, do you know what this is? Like, do you know what this, let me teach you like a little nugget and see how you absorb information. And I had that conversation. I think it was like 3 weeks later. They were like, so we're losing our utility and we've shown you some stuff. Cause like behind the scenes, the utility, if someone shows they're interested in camera, I always say like, if someone's like just like cleaning something or like they don't look busy, go ask them a question. Like go ask them a question and be like, oh, like what are you doing there? Like if I'm like cleaning filters sometimes, PAs or like utilities who are still a little bit new, I'll be like, hey, do you know how to do this? Like impart your wisdom on them. But like that's how I got in, was like someone decided they were going to impart a little bit of wisdom on me, and I took that and ran with it essentially. So it's so much networking to get in. But I always say I got really, really lucky because town was busy and I was already full-time on a job. So it's really hard, but it's, making a good impression is a big part of it.
And being able to read the room.
Yeah.
Not going up to them when they're like changing lenses and going, hey guys,
let me grab that.
Yeah. I think I talked to you guys about this before. It was like there was a kid named Carlos on a job I did, and he was interested in camera, and he came up to me in the pouring rain, and we're wrapping out, like we're trying to get all this, like the Steadicam's soaking wet. We're trying to get into the truck. I have had a tent loads worth of rain dumped down my rain suit, so I'm like not in the mood to talk. He comes up to me and he's like, hey, like good work today, whatever, I'm really interested in camera. And I had to like mentally be like, don't be an asshole. Hey, sweetie, listen, so interested in that. Please talk to me Monday morning after I've had my coffee. Like, please, like, I want to continue this conversation, but right now I'm not in the headspace. Like, I hear you. Yeah. Different time it a little different. So, and he came back to me and I kind of told him, I was like, yeah, like notice when they're not busy, and when they're not busy, go up to people and introduce yourself. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, individually, he got the firsts and the seconds and the utility and the operators and the DP, and he just kind of casually introduced himself, like in moments when he noticed it. And it was the best job I've ever seen someone do of like taking that advice to heart, but like very polite, not expecting a conversation, but kind of just being like, hey, just want to know, I'm interested in camera, and I just want you to remember my name, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an important part of it. It's just like making connections.
Did you have any like history in film or at all, like before you started PAing or anything? Like, did you go to school for this?
I went to school for film. It was a very new program, so I was kind of like the guinea pig of that film program. So it was a lot of it was a lot of like teaching myself and like helping the program like figure itself out of what the classes were. So like all the classes first time running was my class of 4 people. So it was like it was a very small film class. It was like very new, and it was a lot of me being like, okay, like what do I want to know? What do I want to learn how to do? Okay, I'm more interested in the camera side of things. I hate writing scripts. Let's like lean more into that. And I had a friend who was interested in writing scripts, so we would team up together a lot. And it's just a matter of, I don't know, initiative. But I came from studying film and photography in college, graduated, and then immediately was just like, how do I get on sets? That's my first priority to figure out. And I was working part-time at a news station, like ripping through editing stuff for Channel 5 News in Boston, and that was like my day job or my night job, because I did a lot of night shifts on that one, and I would do that job, and then I'd get a call to like, hey, can you come in for 7 a.m. call tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, well I get off at midnight at this job, so if I drive straight there and like sleep in my car, or it's like, or if it's on the way kind of thing, it's like, oh, if I stop home real quick, change, take a nap, and then go. Like,
I don't know anything about sleeping in cars. Why would you? I don't know why you would ever do that for this industry.
But you gotta have your car ready to be able to sleep in, because I had like a sleeping bag in there, I had pillows in there, I had basically like kept like a little life in my car, like just in case. Yeah. And I hustled really, really hard for like a year and a half PAing, and just like getting on as many sets, talking to as many people, making friends. There's a kid that I did one PA job with years ago, and we still like will text now and then, or like, like each other's stuff on Instagram or whatever it is. We worked together as PAs once. He lives in Maine now. I don't think he does film anymore. And we haven't seen each other since, but we still keep up because we had such a good time on set that day. We trauma bonded. Yeah. If you're not trauma bonding on set, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing? Are you even working?
No, not well, at least. Yeah, trauma bonding's big on set. But yeah, it was a lot of networking is how I got in and just like talking to people.
Did you already know you were more interested in camera at that point, or you were just trying to figure out what department to fall into?
I knew I wanted to be in camera. I originally went to school for photography. I was going to be a National Geographic photographer. I was going to travel the world. That didn't work out.
Not yet. There's still time.
There's still time. Yeah, that was kind of like my like mission. It was just like editorial photography and like, you know, journalism and doing that. I was like, I want to take photos of cool things, and that's what I want to do. And then I kind of got into the photo world and realized I didn't love like the gallery scene and like the way to like go up that way. And it just I wasn't clicking with the people I was in school with at the time. And the film program opened up and I went and did that. And I was like, oh, this is where it's at. I've always loved movies. I've always like been interested in that. And I started with stills, and then I kind of was like, oh, I have access to this new medium that's giving me more space to explore and like, you know, make stuff. So, which was fun.
Do you think like photography is pretty accessible with just like the general population? Do you think like having access to those cameras and being able to learn things like ISO and f-stops, like stuff like that?
Always be shooting. Always be shooting.
Do you think that like made it easy for when somebody was testing you for camera? Like, oh, okay, like obviously I've touched this stuff, like, and I paid that much attention to actually know what it is.
Just like there's a range of that, because it's like you want to be competent. Like if they ask you a question, like, you know, go get me a bag of T-stops. Like you don't want to like, not falling for that is great. Not like knowing that that's coming is great. But like, you know, the hazing that comes with, you know, camera questions. But like knowing, you know, what ISO is and knowing like, you know, what frame rates are, like little pieces, like your general functional knowledge is important, but you don't want to be so in the weeds that when they like ask you a question, you're like, is that an anamorphic lens? Like, and like you start like getting like, because there are
I love those people.
If you start getting too techie, if you do it to the wrong person, they're going to be like, I don't want to talk about this right now.
That's me. That moment where you said, "Don't be an asshole," I haven't learned that yet. I don't know if I want to learn that.
I think you just refuse to learn.
That's your baseline.
It's ingrained. It's ingrained.
Yeah, that's your power.
So don't go up to people and start talking about like bit depth and
No. Like there are people who will talk to you about that for sure, but like as a baseline, I don't start with that. I'm also not like a super techie person. Like I like the physical aspect of being an assistant and like the building of the camera and like the process of everything. But as soon as like the reason I decided not to go into being a DIT was I was like, ooh, I don't care about like the nits and like all the little like details of the computer and like the heavy technical side of the camera. I like what it does essentially, which like maybe sounds silly to some people who are more like that, but like there's different styles of camera people. There's like different styles of any department, but like there's different styles of camera people, because like Jamie, my mentor, essentially, if you go and talk to him and ask him like a really tech heavy question, he's going to call you a nerd and not hire you again.
Hey, Bert, there you go.
But it's just going to be like, oh, like he doesn't want to discuss gear and like all the details of that. He wants to put a lens on a camera and shoot some cool stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's other people who you'll be like, oh, like this Steadicam rig, like how did you retrofit that? And that person will be like, oh, well, actually, this piece of equipment here does. You literally read my mind. But like there are people who want to talk tech and there are people who don't, and you kind of have to figure out who you are and find the people. You find your people. That's like the biggest thing in films. Like you find your people, and then those people kind of keep bringing you on. And that's how I found people who liked me enough and who kept bringing me on. Do a good job, be a decent person. You can't. You can't be bad at your job and also an asshole. You have to pick one.
If you're an asshole, you have to be good.
You have to be really
You
good.
can't be bad at your job and an asshole.
You have to pick a struggle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because we've all worked with people who it's like, oh, you know, they're great at their job, but I get really irritated with them by like hour 5. Like, and like that's fine, but like they're good at their job and you can put that aside. And then there's people who you're like, this person is so fun to be with, but they really do need to step up in some areas. But like because you like them so much, you're willing to teach them and like you're willing to like bring them up with you because you're like, I like this person a lot and I want them to be good at this. So like there's a whole, I don't know, it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
For sure. So you got on that job, you started working utility, and then what was your sort of like route after that? Did you start doing more work as utility? Were you trying to work up as a first? Like,
so I've done like, I got really lucky in doing like the first jobs that I did were like bigger jobs. I didn't have to do a lot of like low budget stuff where like, you know, you're the second and then also the loader, like you're firsting, but like also like, you know, the DP technically. Like there's like a lot of jobs like that. And I got really lucky. So it was like, I was like very in the beginning, like, and still now, like very much like watching the hierarchy of the camera department and like being like, okay, I came in as a utility and I have to understand like what the next job is. And like the next job is the loader. And then after the loader is the second. And then after the second is the first. So like right now as a loader / second assistant, I am capable of doing a loader's job, but I also know how to do a second's job. If I had to cover them, I'm always like looking at the next step and like learning the things for the next step so that like when that opportunity presents itself, I can perform and I can, you know, be good at it.
Can you just break down, like, you actually came in as a camera PA, which is no, you didn't?
Nope, I never camera PA'd.
Because that's an insane position to me.
Yeah, we like have a camera PA, like having a camera PA is awesome because it's essentially, and I know in New York they have a program where it's like trainees, which I think is really, really cool. I've met, I did days on a film job out here and they had a camera trainee and she was badass. She was like learning everything she needed to learn and like getting hands-on gear and stuff. But sometimes like there are people who are like, oh, if you're a camera PA, you can't like touch anything. But like you still want to be like, this is their opportunity to learn, like get the inside scoop essentially on the department. I haven't done a lot of jobs with camera PAs. They're sometimes really hard to get on a job. Like producers don't want to hire them sometimes. But like, yeah, some people will start as a camera PA for a while and like, you know, get coffees and swap batteries and things like that. And then the next step from kind of a camera PA is a utility where you're doing the same thing, but you're getting paid more.
That's actually a union position. Camera PA is not. Yeah.
Camera PA is not a union position. And once you are in the union, you can no longer camera PA. So like if you are your utility and you're officially in, you cannot go back and take camera PA jobs anymore.
So camera PA is like the entry level kind of.
Yeah, entry level, very entry level. I did first team PAing for like a year, and that was my like entry in. So I was looking for camera PA jobs at the time, but like there just wasn't any. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna do first team because that's the closest I can get to set without, you know, being in a department essentially. Yeah. And you mentioned this, but like on the job I was on where I did flip into camera, I was like still kind of trying to figure out, like I was like, oh, like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get into camera. It seems so tight knit. It seems really hard. Like maybe I'll get into 481 like as a temporary thing until I can get into camera. So like your old boss was like essentially ready to scoop me up the moment I said the word. He's like, because it's, you know, you recognize a hard worker and like, you know, not to brag, but
no, but I mean, if a PA doesn't want to become an AD, like the best thing they can do is let somebody know what they're interested in so they can get pulled out of it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because if you are a hard worker, like why would somebody want to let you suffer being a PA?
Yeah.
Like,
and rescue as many PAs as you can. Rescue the PAs.
Who rescued who?
Who rescued who? It's true though. It's like you're you know, as soon as you know a PA is interested in your department, you're like, okay, mental note. I like this person, or like I've noticed they're a hard worker and I know they're interested in my department. Let me help give you access. And I try really hard to make sure I'm also like talking to people who like, especially like women and people of color and people, because you know Boston's camera world is a little not diverse, not the most
Boston's everything.
Yeah, it's not the most diverse
Kind of
pack.
just Boston.
Yeah.
Kind of just Boston in general. But you know, the next like wave of people coming up in Boston camera are awesome and like from a whole range, like very different from like the old guard essentially.
Yeah.
But have learned a lot because the old guard has been like willing to like teach us that. But I try to, you know, talk to especially women and stuff and queer people and just give them my perspective on being in camera as a not straight white dude.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so then you have utility PA gets paid more than a camera PA, but does the same job. So then what's the next one after that?
Loader.
Okay.
And that's when like it's like, oh, you've got responsibility now. Oh, you've got to pay attention. oh, your hair's falling out because you're so stressed. It's a stressful job, but it's a big step, and like you don't realize how big of a step up it is until you're a loader and you're like, oh, okay. In Boston, loaders do the time cards. So it's like you're learning a lot. You're doing the logistics behind the scenes. You're handling the truck a lot of the time. You're keeping inventory of any gear that's coming in and out. And then you're also in charge of all the media that we shoot, you know, whether that's cards or mags or whatever it is. You're in charge of all the media, all the inventory, things like that. And, you know, from boss to boss, from second to second, from first to first, it's a little different on how they want you as a loader to operate. But I've been lucky that a lot of the jobs that I've done, it's like, the truck is your domain, handle it. And it's like, got you. You're kind of the liaison between all the other departments, because it's like, oh, the camera department needs something from the electrics. Like they send the loader out to like go talk to the electrics best boy and be like, hey, like, you know, I'm the one on the best boy chains, you know, giving us all the information from production. Logistics is a really good way to put it. Like you're the behind the scenes logistics person. You deal with all the paperwork a lot of the time.
You are the best boy of camera.
Yeah,
Well,
yes.
It's a little bit of a misnomer too, because I feel like when I've said loader recently, at least, everybody's like film.
Yeah.
There's loaders on digital projects.
Yeah. You're a digital loader.
Like,
it is. You know, you're in charge of whether that's codecs, mags, or just like SD cards. Like you are keeping track of every piece of media that we are renting or keeping or whatever it is, whether that's like you have like 13 GoPros and you have a bajillion tiny micro SDs in your hand and you're just crying about it. Like, I hate a GoPro.
Seems too real.
Any second unit of like an action thing, oh, they're like, hey, by the way, we bought 3 GoPros. You're in charge of them. No. Or like the DP will just like have a GoPro in his pocket and you don't know about it. And like, the DP has put a GoPro in the bushes and they're like, hey, did we get the footage from that GoPro in the bushes for that car crash? And it's like,
no, we don't have an operator for that camera.
It's like, no, didn't know that there was a camera in the bushes. No one told me. So like that happens too. Like they'll just throw cameras at you. The best thing you can be, I think in any department on film, is adaptable. Like adaptability is a huge skill to have, like networking and personality and all that, you know. Adaptability is something to practice, and it's something like that's kind of hard to be taught, but being able to like take things in stride is super important, especially in the camera and especially as a loader, because things are constantly changing and you have got to, you know, keep up with the pace. I love a high pressure job that stresses me out. It's, you know, I perform well under pressure. But as the loader, you are technically below the seconds.
So the loader, they don't just keep inventory of the media. Do they actually load media?
It depends on your firsts and your seconds. There are some seconds and, you know, who are like, you are not physically loading the media. Like they want to do that. They want that peace of mind for themselves, or they want to make sure, like, you know, that it's everyone's has their neuroses and like their things that they want to do specifically. But I've been on jobs where it's like, I have the cards on my person and they're like, okay, we're doing a reload, and I will hand off a card to a second or a first, and they'll, you know, usually it's the second, hand off a card and they will do it. I've had ones where the second they always have backup mags in their run bag. So like they'll take it from there, they'll fill it out, they'll put it in, and they'll just expect me to replace the one in their bag, and then they will hand me the media. And then I've had ones where it's like, I am physically doing all the reloads. And then I've had ones where it's like, oh, we have 4 cameras. The seconds can't all do the reloads.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it is like all the seconds I'm like, okay, we're doing a 4-camera reload, and every second we'll go and swap it, and I will just sit there and be like, give me the cards.
Do they label it?
Sometimes, yeah. There are some who like to label it. Some people like only their handwriting on all their stuff. But there's some who like to label it. There's some who want you to pre-label it for them. It depends. It really depends on who you're working with. Everyone has a different system. And like I said, adaptability, a big thing is being able to fit into whatever system you're going to, because like you're being hired by the A first usually. So you're kind of, it's their department. It's their, you know, you're fitting into the way they like things done. So I've worked with a range of people where like some people are more specific about what they want, and other people are just kind of like, yeah, a little more loosey-goosey. Right. Yeah.
Saying that's not how we did it on the last job is really stupid.
Yeah, never say that. Don't say that. It's a different person. It's like, well, I didn't work with you on the last job, so I don't know why you're expecting it to be the way, you know, I don't do it the way that other person does it. This is the way I want you to do it. And at the beginning of every job, I will often especially with like if I'm loading, especially with a DIT, especially with a first, I'll ask specific questions and be like, what do you expect from me? What do you like your loader to be doing? What do you like, what is a priority for your loader? Like what's the thing that makes your life the easiest that I'm taking care of? And I think everyone does that to, a position below them. Like when I work with a utility instead of a second loader, like one of the first things I always say to them is like, I do not want to think about batteries. I don't want to think about Dionics. I don't want to think about block batteries on the camera. If I never have to think about, oh my gosh, is the battery going to die? You're doing a great job, because I can fully delegate that to a utility and fully like give that off and not worry about it. And like that's what I do for the people above me as well. Whatever you can do to make the person above you's job easier, and that kind of slides up, and that makes the department run better. I think it was, I forget who I said it to, but it's like the loader and utility, a good loader and utility are the grease of the wheels of the camera department. Like they help things just run smoother and faster. And like if you can do that, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Who's the one that's first in line at the food trucks?
That would be the utility.
Okay. That's what I thought.
I know you said like every job is different, but what are some of the things that are pretty standard across all these? Because like I know like isn't A cam always red, B cam's always blue?
Yeah.
Like there's like some standard
There's
things.
some standard things like A cam's always red, B cam's always blue. Well, I've been on jobs
You
where
say
A cam's
always?
Yeah, you can't say always, because I've been on jobs where like they're like, guess what? A cam, purple.
Yellow.
Yeah, like people will do that. A cam, neon pink. Cool, whatever you want. But it's just the thing that's consistent across jobs is that there is a system of organization. Everything will be labeled. Everything has a place, and everything should be in its place. If you're an organized person, like camera is great, because the more organized you are, the better it is. And there are people who have like a loosier, goosier, more chaotic method of doing that and are still good at their job. But it's just like a matter of finding your system and sticking to your system. That will always be like consistent across jobs, is that like you'll come into a system, you'll learn that system, whether that's new people or whatever, but you will always have your personal like way that you like to do things. So like if I'm loading on a job and the first, likes the lens cart to look a certain way, like I will always, have the things that they want their way. But when I'm in my domain, when I'm physically downloading cards on my computer, there's a system that I follow exactly the same every time, from job to job. There are, maybe some tweaks that you do because like, oh, this job you need a different format, or this job, there's an extra report that they need for post-production or special effects or whatever it is. But there's a system and like a folder structure and a level of organization that I will repeat on every job that I do. So you find that system and you keep that across jobs, because it helps you be better at your job, because it's muscle memory.
Do you have to talk to the editor to figure out like with a file structure that they like?
Yeah. So like, sometimes you'll get a post-production email at the beginning, and it depends if you have a DIT or not, because sometimes they handle that more.
Yeah.
But if there's not,
how closely are you working with them?
If you have a DIT on a job, the loader and the DIT are working very, very closely together. And I've been on jobs where the DIT likes to do the reloads. The DIT likes to be the one putting it in the camera and formatting it.
Okay.
So it like I said, it really depends from job to job, but the biggest thing is like you're the liaison between the camera department and other departments. I talk to the editors. I talk to, the post-production people. I'm on those post-production emails. I'm talking with the script supervisor. I'm talking with G&E. I'm talking with, props. I'm talking with the Teamsters. Like, you're the liaison, because you are the person as a loader who can step off set. Everyone's, in the camera department, like they always say like, oh, we're doing French hours. Sucks for the camera operators. They can't escape. Like they're on set. The seconds and the first and the operators and the DP, like they're on set all the time. The loader and by extension the utility are able to go between set like much more freely. So when it's like, hey, we need to go call the rental house to like get this, we broke something, or we need to rush, a new piece of equipment, and we need to call the rental house and go do this. I've had, the situation where like, here's the number, go call the rental house and organize getting this new piece of gear in, or go send this email because I'm slating, or it's like cover me so I can go do this because this is maybe a bigger thing, that's more complicated. But yeah, it's finding your system across jobs and sticking to it.
Being organized.
And
communicating.
Are you?
Yeah. Communication big time. Because like if you can't communicate on set, I don't know why you picked a team-based job as your career.
Solo mission, baby.
Literally, it's like of all like the arts that there are, like I would say film is like the most team-based sport. And I joke that like my experience being on volleyball teams and being on big team sports from like age like 8 to 21 taught me way more than anything in film school did. Like your ability to work on a team is so important in film. And especially in the camera department, like knowing how to be a team player is really, really big.
It also sounds like because you're talking to other departments, you have to be able to communicate with other departments too.
Yeah, you gotta kind of know how to work the system to a certain extent. You gotta kind of know who you're talking to, how. Like the way I would ask a teamster for something might be different than the way I would ask.
Don't ask.
Depends.
It's their idea. It's always their idea.
I will say I really like all the teamsters that I've worked with. And I'm not just saying that because I'm being recorded. I really like the teamsters that I work with because it's been coming up as a PA, especially my like mission when I was a PA was like, the biggest, grumpiest teamster, you're my best friend now. Guess what? I'm getting in your van and I've got coffee for you. Like it was kind of a thing, and it got me tight with a lot of the teamsters in Boston, and it did me well. But also just like I don't know, they're working just as hard as we are. So like I get really annoyed when people kind of talk down to them or discredit certain departments because they don't think they're as important as whatever department or the above the line, below the line thing. It's just like nothing moves without them. But
literally.
But it's like the way I talk to a teamster might be the way different than the way I would ask, the electrics for a stinger or something like that. Like, it's a lot of politics to a certain extent of just kind of like knowing your relationship with everyone on set. Like, how do I operate? Does this person like me? This is person kind of annoyed by me. Okay, maybe I don't ask them specifically all the time, or I consider when am I going to ask for these? Do I really have to like ask for this big thing? Oh, does the truck need to move? Okay, is that a big ask? Do I want to use up my like favor with the Teamsters to move my truck? Do I want to like use up my favors with this other department to like get our saddlebag ripped? Do I want to use my favors with the costumes department to have them stitch up our saddlebag, or is that like a no and I just need to have production get us a new one? Like there's a lot of like just like
strategy,
socialization. It's a lot of talking to people. It's a lot of it is exhausting. It's a lot more socializing than people expect all day. But you're the liaison between all the departments as the loader. So I always say the easiest part of loading is the like physical loading, like the actual like putting
what the
media
job role is the
like the actual like act of downloading media, keeping track of media. Easy. It's the easiest part. It's like the politics and the personalities and the camera moves and the company moves and the inventory. Like that's the stuff that like I start pulling my hair out by like week 4. Mm-hmm. But like the actual like active loading is probably the easiest thing because you have a routine that you do from job to job to job to job. It's muscle memory. You're keeping with it, and that allows you to be able to like put more brain power towards the harder things, that is adapting to the chaos that is a film set every day. I show up to set, to the truck usually 30 minutes before my call, not because I have like specific work I want to do, but because I want 30 minutes in the truck to listen to music and get myself set up, put my pouch on, drink my coffee before it's like, okay, we're in. By the way, everything needs to move 3 blocks down the street. Yeah. Also, dump your truck here, but set is that way. Trucks are going that way. Like the amount of times where it's like, okay, we're in and everything's on fire. Like, so it's like, I like my 30 minutes in the morning. And I know a lot of firsts and stuff who will come in early because they just want to like take a breath, be on set before. And I took that to heart because it works. It helps because film sets are stressful.
Yeah, for sure.
Camera's also the only department that gets their like camera burrito at breakfast as a thing.
Camera burrito?
They're like if you go to like almost any film set and you go to the breakfast truck, camera burrito is on the menu. It's a thing. Like if there's one department that's there for breakfast, it's camera.
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
Well, because we don't NDB usually, so it's like you like will get your whatever to go, and we don't NDB. a lot of camera people, because like once you're on set, you're stuck there for a while. So it's like you got to eat breakfast sometimes, because it's like I might not get to crafty until lunchtime, or it's like I'm only going to have people running to get me snacks. I might not be able to step off, kind of thing. Especially as you become like a first and an operator, like it's much harder to step off of set the higher up you go in the camera department.
You guys don't keep snacks in the truck?
We do. I have a specific like bin that I keep on the truck, and it's like snacks, and it's got like paño from with like a slice of ham on it, and it's just like snacks. So I keep snacks on the truck, but it's also just like I put snacks in people's run bags and stuff. You have snacks, but like you want a meal.
A battery
you want
gets
a meal.
dropped
You want
off,
a hot
seltzer
meal.
gets dropped off. It's like
Hey, some people don't like a crispy boy. I do, but some people don't.
I love the nicknames that you guys have for everything around.
It's so learning a different language.
Yeah.
It's learning all the nicknames that camera people come up with.
Because you said French hours earlier. Like, what are French hours?
French hours is a 10-hour day, no lunch. So it's like they cannot go past 10 hours. But we're not breaking for a formal lunch. There'll be like pass arounds throughout the day. But
funny,
the production has to vote on it.
Yeah,
Not what French.
No, it's like it's
They
would process that.
French people love their lunch.
French people are like 2-hour lunch.
So the
2-hour lunch, we're going to go have a bottle of wine.
It has to be voted on. It's like majority of the crew has to approve it. There's a guaranteed breakfast, which on every other set.
Burrito?
Well, no, on every other set, breakfast is a
Sit-down camera
courtesy.
burrito.
It's a courtesy. So there's an hour-long breakfast that has to be provided for French hours. There's no breaking for lunch. You have to wrap after 10 hours of shooting. Otherwise, all the penalties that you would have incurred come back.
Boom.
And there's no reason, like if you know that you're not going to hit those 10 hours, French hours is the worst idea for production, because now you have to feed everybody all the time and you're paying all the penalties anyways. So there's no point to it if you can't make those days.
It's basically like a fucking gamble.
Yeah, 100%. It's hoping that you're efficient enough. Like your first AD better be on their fucking shit if you get approval.
Or if you
for
know
French
that like
hours.
it's like, oh, we've like pulled scenes up and like we don't have a lot to shoot this day. We could do 10 hours. Like, we could definitely finish this in 8 kind of thing. Like, let's do French hours it's something that has to be voted in, but.
Yeah. I think Ghostbusters is the only show that I ever did that actually voted on it. And
Hocus
it was like,
Pocus had
I left before that.
Yeah. Well, no. Actually, it wasn't French hours.
It was rolling lunches.
It was rolling lunches,
Yeah.
which was worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is like you don't break
That
as
was
a
a
company.
COVID thing.
Yeah.
It was,
okay.
It's like you'll send someone, like 2 people will go to lunch from your department and then they'll come back, which is hard for the camera
There's
department.
a
'cause we
4-hour
can't all
window.
break. But it's like B camera, go take lunch, and then A camera's going to do this, and then when B camera comes back, A camera's going to go take lunch, and B camera will take care of the
This is
shot.
just like a bastardization of French hours.
It was a 4-hour window throughout the day where you could get where you could
step
go
away.
and take your half hour, and it's like it was basically guaranteed. Whoever went to lunch first got penalties on the back end. Whoever went to lunch last got penalties on the front end. And no matter what, for those 4 hours, your department was working at least one person down. So you always had to staff more people. So it was terrible.
Yeah, it's just
There was nothing about it. And then it's like if the DP or the ADs or whatever got to a point where they had to break, the entire the company was shut down. So
and then,
now
and then
everybody
you're like,
that
I already
already
took my lunch.
Yeah, it's like I already took a half hour, so now I'm sitting here with my thumb up my ass while they take a lunch.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, I don't understand anything that
Find
just
a
happened.
corner and you take a nap.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, and then if you're the loader, because you're usually the last one out of the camera department, you'll get the penalties on the front end and on the back end.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. So you're the one that stays late and has to download the footage
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that like. What can you talk about? Like there are extra things like we need overnight power, we need like that kind of stuff. It's like you
things you're always
interface with a lot of
checking
the
for,
Jenny ops as well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's-
Jenny Op's my best friend. Half the time, like, because the Jenny Op's the person who's plugging in my truck, or the whoever the electric is who's in charge of powering my truck. You're always like, especially if you're on location or whatever, you're always talking to the electricians, you're talking to the teamsters, like where things are going to be. It's like, is there power overnight for my truck? We've got so many batteries to charge. Like, where is my truck going to be landing? Like I'm texting with my teamster before I even get in sometimes. And like a lot of times also like getting there early, the 30 minutes early, is just so that I'm like, okay, this is where the truck is. I am sending my location to the group chat of the rest of my team, so everyone knows where the truck is. Like, I don't know. And I've had a lot of firsts who really appreciate that. I have other firsts who's like, why are you not sleeping? Like why are you here so early? Don't do that. But like, it's good for my peace of mind. But like the Jenny Ops are always like my like homeboys, because like they'll come on the truck and they'll, turn you over from shore power and whatnot, and it's fantastic because you build a rapport with them, and then you'll see them on the next job and you're like, I know my truck is taken care of because I've got, my guy on it or whatever. But yeah, it's those relationships you build, but it's a lot of talking to people very early in the morning.
Do you get invaded because you have to stay late often? Or
sometimes, not often, but sometimes.
Invaded?
So like your turnaround gets invaded. It depends on how well you're keeping up with stuff, and like it's a feel thing. Like you learn of like, okay, I should reload the cameras now. So, and this is more for digital versus film because it's like
to save how long the download is.
To save how long the download is. Oh, okay, this card is half full right now. But if I start downloading it now, it'll be, half done, and then I will only have a half card at the end of the day. Instead of a one full mag, I'll have a half that I've done before wrap, and then I'll only have a half to do after wrap. And like people don't think about that, but like everyone's, off the clock. Like, the carts are on the truck, like everything's packed up or whatever, but I'm still downloading stuff. I'm still on the clock. People, are like, driving home, or like they've, they're having their end of night beer or whatever. And it's like, so glad you guys are having fun. I am still working. Yeah. I have emails to send. Yeah. So like,
you can't just click like speed up.
That's the other thing is like people, it's like you can't rush that. Like, it's going to take how long it's going to take. And there's a relationship with like, as soon as I know how long the download is going to take for the night, I'm telling the key PA, or I'm telling the second, or I'm telling the Teamster captain, I'm telling my driver, I'm telling my boss, and, I'm keeping track of the out times for that. And like, it's like, oh shit, it's going to be a 2-hour download, and there's nothing I could have done about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, that sucks. And then that's when you have to be like, okay, I guess I have to go talk to a producer and be like, hey, are you keeping me here for these 2 hours after, along with my Teamster, or am I stopping after this card and then picking it up tomorrow morning because you don't want to invade me, kind of thing? So like that's something you have to talk to even higher up about, because that's not your call. Like, you have to also recognize, especially as a loader, because you get all this responsibility, so you think you have, I don't know, more power to like call shots. You're not calling shots. You're doing the stuff, and like most of the time you are taking direction still from other people, but like you have to know when you're like, okay, this is not my decision. I just got to know what they want me to do. So, but yeah, getting invaded can happen a lot, and it depends like how fast are the drives that the production gave you, how fast are the cards, how much are we shooting every day? Like it's all stuff that you have to keep track of, and you keep track of how much you shoot every day, both film and digital. You have there's camera reports, you keep just like footage reports, you keep like a download report that you send out. Like there's a lot of like paperwork that's attached to just like the ones and zeros of putting the footage on a hard drive.
Did somebody teach you that stuff, or was that just like you're the loader now? Like,
so it's all passed down. Figure it out.
PDF.
It's all passed down. So like the first loader that I worked with was a guy named Josh, and he had a system, and there were pieces of his system that I liked, pieces that I didn't. And then I worked with Maddie, and then I work with you work with a couple different people, and you're like, ooh, okay, I like this folder structure, and I like this download software, and I like the way that you lay this out. I like the way you label that. I was really lucky that as a utility, I worked on this really, really hard job, this Disney job before COVID, and it was brutal. But the loader who was on it is a good friend of mine now, and they are a fantastic teacher. They are so good at just being like, learn this. Like I'm going to show you how to do this, and would just be like, hey, you're gonna do the download tonight. Like I'm gonna sit here with you and show you how to do this.
Okay.
Because like you also always want to have someone who can. This sounds awful. Someone who can replace you. Like, God forbid you slip on ice and crack your head open in the middle, like, carrying big old mags down to the set, and you slip on ice and you got to go, you're offset, like you're seeing stars. God forbid something like that happens. If there's no one who can like at least like step into your shoes and like manage for the day, like that sucks. Like that's, I don't know, like you always want like to have the person, you always want to know how to do the job above you, because if you ever had to step in, you want to be able to perform. But also like you want someone to be like, I try to make my system as idiot proof as possible.
Yeah.
Like it's so labeled, it's so organized, because it's like if someone who has never worked with me before had to figure out my system, they can go on my computer and realize it's like, oh, this folder that has the day and the date of what we're shooting. Oh, like this, like everything's so clearly labeled. Anyone could step in and fill this job. And like, some people want to be more secretive about that because they don't want to, be replaced or whatever. But like, it's important to teach the next people coming up because like, you're not going to, I hope not. I'm not going to be a loader forever. God, I hope not. Oh my God. The horror of that. But it's like, you want whoever's going to replace you when it is your time to move up, you want them to be good because you want to be like, okay, I'm moving up and everyone who's known me as a loader knows it's my time to move up, but I want there not to be a void as soon as I'm gone. I want whoever's moving up with me and taking my role over to be just as good as me and then, come up with their own systems and their own little pieces. What nuggets are they taking from my system? So you learn from the people you work with and like it's still asking questions and taking notes. Like I take so many notes throughout the day of just be like, oh, like this little thing that the second assistant taught me, or like, oh, the focus puller is showing me like the back menu of their light ranger system, like and how that works. It's like, oh, they're showing me how to call marks on the walkie when there's like a big walk up with a zoom lens. That's a lot of pressure, but but like you're learning all these little things, and all day I'm just like on my notes app on my phone or like scraps of paper or whatever. I'm just like taking notes because like you want to remember all those little nuggets of wisdom that you get throughout the day because you'll apply them later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do the drives live?
So there is usually a master RAID. So a big boy drive, like 84 terabytes, usually a bigger, huge drive that everything goes on. You always make 2 copies. So sometimes 3, but you have a big drive that lives on the truck, and that's the whole, usually the whole movie is on this drive. And then you have shuttle drives, which you are also downloading to, and you give that to a film runner or a media runner, and they'll take that to the production office or the post-production studio. Like, sometimes if it's like a local place, like the driver will take it directly to post. But I've also done jobs where it's like, hey, we hired a person and they're going to upload it to some digital cloud system that is going to send it to London. Like, so like there's a lot of different like systems, but like there's a master backup that lives on the truck. There's a shuttle drive that then gets downloaded to another master backup that is with post-production. And then you will get clearances of like, okay, we have it backed up with you. We have it backed up with post twice. You are okay to clear the cards you shot on today. You are okay to clear the shuttles that you shot, that you got back kind of thing. So you're always keeping track of like where everything is, and you always want minimum 2 copies.
Yeah.
Because you'll learn your lesson of like doing a commercial or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, we're only downloading to one place, and you like have a mini heart attack because you're like, if something goes wrong with this one thing, you're screwed, and like that's gonna fall on me. Always protect yourself. Always like sometimes like if a job's like, oh yeah, we're only doing one backup, we could only afford like 1 drive or something. Like I will if it's not
Please sign this.
Yeah, please sign here. Say I would like that in writing actually. But like I've done jobs where I'm like it's a small enough job that I could put it on a backup hard drive that I had, or like on my computer, like certain things, and then I'll delete it, after they've like backed it up a second place, like at the post thing, just to like cover my ass.
Yeah.
Just to like, and that's like, I don't know if that's a big thing in other departments, but it's just like, you have your people, and like, I have people that I'm so lucky that like they have my back, and I know which people have my back, but you always have to have your own back. Because if something goes wrong, especially being like often like a younger person in the department, good people won't like, let that drop on you kind of thing. But like you always want to cover yourself because like God forbid something goes really, really wrong and someone decides, you know what, we're going to blame this kid. Like I've heard horror stories about, people in like the old days where it's like, oh yeah, these people were like had like a thing where like they were stealing film from a job or whatever, and they pinned it on the loader, and that loader had to leave the industry. Like that's a horror story that I've heard somewhere along the lines kind of thing. And it was just like something you learn really quick is like, cover yourself. Always have your own back. Like good people are there, and like you'll find good people hopefully, but like you always got to look out for like, people who maybe don't have your best interests at heart kind of thing. So like always having a backup of yourself. Always having a backup. Always like keeping paper trail.
You're all freelancers.
Yeah,
Everyone's
we're all
their own
freelancers.
Independent person. We're not working for a company really. So
Yeah. Especially as a newer person coming in. It's just like, protect yourself. Always protect yourself. My friend and mentor says like when things are getting crazy on set, he'll kind of like bring us in for a micro meeting and just be like, all right, we're going to circle the wagons. Like he's like, this is our department, or like this is I know these people. I like these people. I trust my group, but things are getting crazy everywhere. And like, maybe, it's like, oh, they're talking about doing like a 16-hour day or like whatever. It's like, keep our department tight, keep us tight. Mm-hmm. And he'll say, circle the wagons. And we're like, all right, we're locking in. We're like getting ready to like make sure that all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted as a department.
Yeah.
So.
If there's like a corrupt file or something, like a card is being stupid,
it happens.
Is that your job to sort out, to try to troubleshoot to get that card working, or pull it out of the rotation?
So you'll usually pull it out of rotation. It depends. Like if you have a DIT, thank God, they'll usually take care of that. But if like a card corrupts or something, you have to like see if you can download it. If you can download it, that's awesome. But then you take it out of rotation, or maybe you send it back to the rental house to be like, hey, this card messed up on us. Send us a replacement. We don't want to risk it. There are other times where it's like, this card's corrupt, and we cannot download what's on it off of it, and we have to send it out somewhere to like be recovered. That's a process that's like, you talk to the post-production people about that. They usually have like a place. Like I know Ari does it for like some of their cards. Like if like a card like fully corrupts, it won't mount to your computer. You cannot download stuff. You will send it out to like hopefully recover that footage. And like if you don't, it's not your fault as the loader usually, like unless you actively did something that
you're the one that corrupted it.
Yeah, it's like, unless you did something that corrupted the card. But like I've been on jobs where like the first AC like accidentally formatted a card that had footage in it. Oh, like I've seen that happen before, and like it sucks big time, but like it happens, and we're human, and like unfortunately you just have to be like, okay, I gotta tell someone.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta figure this out. Like,
and you're the one that has to tell them because you're the.
Sometimes like the last big job I did, I thought I lost one of the cards, like one of the mags. I was like, there's two places that mags go. It's in people's run bags, or on the truck in my like media Pelican, where I pull them from and then put them in their run bags. Those are the two places that cards go, and occasionally they go in my pouch, like, or in my media carrier. That's it. And I couldn't find this one card because we had we rush called people in, and I had to bump up to second, and someone had to come in, and my utility had to bump up to load, but we didn't call in 3 people. We only called in 2 because we were far away. So we could only get 2 people. So to like staff this other camera. So like, you're like half handing over your job to someone midday while also trying to do the job above you. Like it gets hectic, and a card got misplaced or whatever. I looked everywhere. I pulled the truck apart, like looking for this card. I was like, it's impossible for me to lose a card. I am so organized about this. It is impossible for me to lose a card. And it just happened to be in like a pouch of someone's, like some bag somewhere, like on a cart, whatever. We found it weeks later, but it was a week of me just looking by myself and like trying to find it, checking every spot. Then telling my utility and being like, okay, we're not telling anyone yet. But I need you to help me look for this. It's
not panic time yet.
She can't find it either. It's like, okay, I have to tell the second. Second starts looking for it. Okay, it's like, okay, it's been about 2 weeks now.
What?
We have to tell the first, and we have to the first has to
At
talk.
what point do you go back and reshoot the scene? Yeah.
Well, so it wasn't a mag with footage on it. It was just just an empty mag,
okay.
and like.
Okay. That changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, they know that.
I was like, bro.
No, they know that immediately.
Yeah.
If there's missing footage there, you are finding out 4 hours later because you don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
No, it was an empty mag, but like those are just as expensive. Like it's like you know a Codex, a Codex mag for like RE cameras are like, I think they're like $4,000 for like a 2 terabyte card. So it's like you're 25 and like you're like, it's like I have several bajillion dollars worth of equipment that is my responsibility. Like, so like I'm freaking out. Never lost a mag before. I'm freaking out. And it just happened that like on that day where things got like rushed around and I handed over my media Pelican, it got put on like a cart and it like, someone pulled something from it and just left it on the top deck of the cart and it like slid into a pocket of something and just like in a place that it's not supposed to be. And like, it was because it was a hectic, crazy day. So like, that's why you have those systems where you're like, that's why I was like, it's impossible for it to be anywhere else because my system only allows cards to be in 2 places.
Right.
So like, that's why you fall back on those systems so that things like that don't happen. And we had to tell the first, and the first had to be like, okay, but there's no footage on it? Okay, cool. I'll go talk to the UPM. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like sweating, just like asking the second, I'm like, am I going to get fired? Are they going to fire me? Are they going to fire me? And they're like, no, it's fine. And then like the old guard, the older guys will be like, nah, don't worry about it. There was this one time that I messed this huge thing up and it was totally my fault and I flashed a whole mag back in the film days. It's fine. And you're like, okay. And it was,
sure?
it was whatever. And then like, a few weeks later we find it in this random pocket
Right.
and I almost cried. I was just like, yes, I knew I was right. I knew it could only be in 2 places. But like, you have to like take those times to be like, okay, it's time to tell someone, like it's time to like move things up the ladder. Being self-sufficient is good, but like you have to know when it's like, all right, like I messed up, like, or like something's messed up and it's out of my control and I can't fix it before the adults find out. Like,
It's better you tell them than they find out.
and they'll appreciate that because it's like if you mess up and you're honest about it and you're like, hey, I messed this thing up and I'm trying to fix it, but I have gotten to the point where I cannot fix it by myself and I do need help. Like you gotta, we're human. You gotta like, understand, especially like, I feel old now, but like I feel older and like, I don't know, when you're 23 and you're a utility and you're, you drop a battery and it's like it breaks or something and you're just like, oh God, like I'm gonna get fired because I broke a piece of equipment. And then you have to learn that like, oh no, there's a way to fix this. Or it's like, oh no, like
You find out
that happens.
That's
like,
the least expensive thing that happened that day.
it's like, oh, a battery broke. We literally don't care. We just ran over a Komodo with a car. Like, don't even worry about it. So we'll say it was attached. Like, it's whatever. But yeah, it happens. Shit happens on a film set. Shit happens all the time, all day. So like
my favorite is if like something, I mean, not my favorite, but when something breaks and the guy, like the older guy standing next to you just goes, just keep going.
On the last big job I did, we had this big glass drop stunt thing where it's like we're looking up and there's glass falling directly like an aerial shot onto a camera. And the way it was, we didn't have any like plexiglass or anything to put over the camera because it would create a like double reflection between the glass that was breaking and then the camera and then the lens. So for some reason, or maybe we just didn't have it, I don't know. We didn't have like a plexiglass protection over this camera. So they're like, okay, just put a clear filter over the lens and drop this panel of glass on the camera. So I'm just like, okay, let me get my clipboard and pull out my loss and damage form, today's date, like preemptively. We broke, and like that's what clear filters are for, but like we broke so much stuff that day, and it's just like you as the loader, like filling out the paperwork, you're like, okay, like production approved that we're allowed to fuck up this equipment, like we're allowed to smash stuff. And they said yes, and we got it in writing, and the producer said yes. So I'm just gonna write down like we broke this, and we broke this, and we broke this, and we broke this, and that's what insurance is for.
Yeah.
Like so, like you
just trying to hit the minimum at that point. Like we're past the deductible. We're good.
But yeah, everything's insured, and like I don't know.
Yeah, as long as no one's getting hurt.
As long as no one's getting hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Life is more important than gear. Let the gear break if it's gonna save your life.
Totally.
Very important.
Yeah.
Leave the gear behind.
Leave the gear behind.
So it seems like you are always busy and always running around and doing things. How do you?
Yeah.
It's like the skill set seems very different when you jump to being an assistant camera. Like where and when do you actually learn how to move to that position?
So I'm still working on that. But whatever job you're doing, you are learning how to do the next job while you're actively doing your job. So as a loader, you are learning how to be a second while actively being a loader. But like you start learning that by like the second has to go to the bathroom. Cover me. You got to know how to, cover them. So like, you start and, like you'll do a couple test runs or whatever. They'll like only let you cover them for a short amount of time. And then like you'll get used to kind of like clapping the sticks and like keep filling out the camera report. What, moving the run bag, like anticipating for lens changes. Like a lot of learning the next role is observing while you're in your current role. I was really nervous to second for a really long time. Like, especially when I first came in, the pressure of slating and like everyone's quiet and everyone's watching you and you're on camera. I have anxiety. I was so nervous about that for the longest time, but it just came to like, you have to do it. Like if you want to move up, you've got to learn how to do it. And also like the more you practice, the more you'll learn it.
Yeah.
So like I just like the more days I did like covering people on jobs while I was still a loader. And then there was one job on Kevin. Kevin can F himself.
You can say fuck, it's fine.
Well, the show is called Kevin F himself.
If you talk to Valerie, it's not.
Anyway, on that job, like on the second season, towards the end, we had people who had to like jump to other jobs, like couldn't finish out the job. And I was asked like, hey, like, you know, it was a fairly like easy job from like a technical standpoint, as far as like there wasn't a lot of company moves, there wasn't a lot of crazy gear, like, you know, it was pretty easy. And I was asked like, oh, do you want to finish out the job as the B second? And it was like, yeah, like, yes, I do. Like a job that I'm comfortable on, I can have, you know, 2-3 weeks of like just like reps and practice being this thing. That was like, that's a fantastic opportunity to do that. But just like getting the days. So even when you're a loader, like people be like, oh, can you second on this commercial? Yes, I can. And like you slowly are building your kit. So like as a utility, you don't really have any gear. Sometimes maybe you have like your chesty or your pouch or whatever you keep your walkie on to keep your pens and everything in. You know, everyone has like some kind of thing to keep some gear. But you only start like accumulating a kit like when you're a loader. So like a computer usually. I always say like wait as long as possible. Like, you know, I haven't bought a cart or it took me a really long time to buy a cart. I got like a hand-me-down like little one because it was like, okay, for like one person commercial days, I need like something to just cart my computer around. But like you start like the same way you're like learning the next job above you. As you're doing that job, you're slowly building your kit up. So like I have my loading kit and it's pretty, you know, set now, and I collected it while I was a utility and I collected it as I did more loading jobs. And now that I've got my loader kit, I think about, okay, what do I need if I ever have to, you know, be a second? I get called for a seconding day. Okay, I have my run bag. I have, you know, the right wrenches. I have, you know, Allen keys. I have like everything that I would need. What do the seconds that I work with, what do they have in their bag? And so I'm always looking at that. Sometimes I'll take pictures of it and be like, ooh, I like this Trek pack in this little case. I'm anti Pelican case as a run bag. That might be a controversial take. It's a big thing, especially if you're doing like a job in like the rainforest or like you're going to be wet all the time. A Pelican case is great for a run bag, but I'm a big fan of like the bucket bags or just like anything that I can like throw over my shoulder, and like, or the RE bags you can throw over your shoulder so you can carry a monitor and have your bag and like, you know, have two hands essentially, not something that I need to like be carrying my bag and then also kind of one hand carrying another thing. But everyone has a different preference, but you're always like watching what the person above you has and like noticing that.
And then when you're a second, that's when you get to start coming up with weird names for stuff, right? Like you get to make up the gear. And
if there's one thing that a camera department loves, at least the ones that I've worked on, is they love a bit. They love a bit. There's a bit.
That's 100% true.
A camera department loves a bit. Put that on record. Camera departments love a good bit, and they will stick to it for the show. And like they'll be,
and then the next 3 shows.
And then the next 3 shows. There's always callbacks, but sometimes that like leads to like things getting funny names because like someone said something stupid at 2 a.m, and like that's what you call that piece of equipment from now on. Like we talked about earlier, like. Depends from job to job, but like certain ACs will start like calling things, and they'll call for it on walk and be like, okay, can someone go get the dwarf snorkel? It's an easy rig. But like you as a utility who have never heard maybe either of those things before will be like, what? What? It's like, copy, got it. Gets to the truck to look for the thing. What is a dwarf snorkel? Like, but like I've done that before where it's just like you have to like, you gotta ask.
This
Unfortunately,
is a bag of T-stops, isn't it? This is
literally, yeah. You have to ask. You have to ask because it's like if you don't know what it is, they would much rather be like, "What is that piece of equipment?" So I can get it for you quickly, but like, please tell me. Sometimes you have to ask. Like, my good friend is a focus puller, and he'll be like, "Can you get me the Framus?" What's a Framus? The handle, like the little focus handle. He'll call it the Framus. He'll call the I've heard people call like the actual whole focus monitor setup the Fokemon, or the Fokemon, or the TV. Go park the TV somewhere for me, and then whatever. Can you give me the Framit? Like there's like so many little things like that. I'm sure there's a bajillion of them, but those are like the ones I can think of right now. But like everyone has, and I was saying like the job I was just on, someone called for the pasta handle, and I was like, never heard that one before. Been doing this for a little while now. Haven't heard that one before. Again, just something someone made up. Yeah. Not entirely sure why, but it's, you know, it's a top handle for a camera with a piece of, you know, rope attached to it to attach to the Easy Rig. And I don't know why it's called the pasta handle, but that's what it's called. And like, you just have to be like, what is that? Oh, that's what that is? Mental note. And hopefully on the next job, they'll call it the same thing. Hope so.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Or you'll keep calling it that.
Or I'll keep calling it that. And then like sometimes you'll like, if you'll work with like LA guys or LA people and you have like different vocab from like coast to coast kind of thing, they'll be like, oh, we call it this thing. Or like, it's like, oh, really? We call it that thing. But I think that it's also like, there's also like, I'm sure for like Genie and stuff too, there's like stuff that's like, it's been called this because of the way it was when it was everything was film. And we still call it that now, even though it has like no connection to film anymore kind of thing. But there's just like so many nicknames. But ask when you don't know what a nickname is. Yeah. That's like the biggest thing. It's like some people are so afraid to ask questions because they don't want to seem like they don't know. People will appreciate so much more if you're like, hey, I don't know what that is. Would love to learn so that next time I won't have to ask.
Yeah. You can also avoid getting pranked.
Yeah.
It's like, it might not even be a nickname.
Yeah. Go get me a can of F-stops,
My first job in the film department, I got asked for like a bag of T-stops, and luckily I already knew that one. But like the camera operator like knew I was kind of new, and he liked to like haze me here and there, like not in like a mean way, but in like a way where it was just like he'd like come up to me and he's like, I need you to go to the truck and get me like this specific thing, like there's a bag inside my weather bag and it's got this thing or whatever, and I'd bring him this little bag and he'd open it up and there'd be like gum in it. And it would just be like, it'd be like,
that's good.
You got me.
That's
You got
better.
me.
That is a good one.
You got me. I thought this was like an important mission. You got me. Well done,
Nice.
sir. But like sometimes they'll haze you because they want to test you. They want to see like, it's like, all right, can you handle the heat? Like I day played on a film job here in New York, and it was the first like full like film job that I had ever like worked on. And the A2nd was like, I'm gonna go build the Moses. Can you cover me? Sure. I'd rather go build the Moses. I know how to do that, but like I guess I'll cover you on this film job. And they were reloading after every take. So reloading the mag after every take. So it's like a 7-minute scene, and they're reloading it. This big 3 cameras, this big like dolly pullback or whatever. And I'm just like trying to make sure I don't mess up, and I'm handling the mag correctly and handing it off to the first and doing that and trying to make sure I'm writing the footage counter on everything. And my eyes are probably bugging out of my head because I'm sweating, trying not to mess anything up. I'm so stressed that the first is like helping me like do the math on the report because I'm not good at math to begin with. But like as soon as I got stressed, I was like, hey, Jason, I can't read right now. I'm sweating, like stress sweating. Please tell me what numbers are. Like I genuinely cannot do the math in my head right now. I'm freaking out. And the operator
Sees this.
kind of catches this after like the second one, and I'm like, trying to be really, really precise, really, good, and don't mess anything up. And he just comes to me, and he's like, while I'm handing off the mag to the first, and he's just like, I want you to look at the monitor when you're back there. You tell me after this take, tell me, how does it feel? How does the take feel? And I just look at him, and I'll just like, yeah, got you. Go back, and I'm like, watching, trying to keep the report, trying to make, sure make sure I have the next mag because I know we're going to reload after this take. And I'm not looking at the monitor or whatever. I come back and we do the next reload. Or he goes, so how did it feel? How did it feel? What did you think? What was the energy about it? And I was like, it looked fantastic, actually. Honestly, it really had the right. I didn't watch the monitor. I'm faking it. I'm catching him hazing me. I'm catching him trying to like fuck with me and like throw me off my game, trying to introduce like another piece of information, another thing for me to pay attention to, just to be kind of like a scutch. And like whatever, okay, I handle pressure decently well. And I just like clocked it, and I was like, it looked great. I thought it was better than the last take. And he was like, okay, yeah, like yeah, okay, you're dismissed essentially. But like I clocked it so fast that I was just like, asshole. I don't need this right now. I can't do math right now. Don't throw another thing at me. But like, you just have to kind of like tough it out sometimes. And sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, but sometimes you have to just like tough it out and sometimes sometimes you get got. Sometimes you get got, and you have to be able to laugh at yourself about it too. And just like, maybe think about it at every night for like years and years after that. But it's okay. Like sometimes you just got to get got. Okay.
Speaking of standing up for yourself, is there like, when is there a time to say no? Because it seems like there's a little bit of hazing and like there's a little clickiness in camera, but then there has to be a time where you're like, I gotta like put my foot down.
If you ever feel like you're unsafe, if you ever feel like you're in danger, and that's across any department, if you ever feel unsafe, that's when you say no. Always, 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 always. And I know that when you're first coming in, like you always want to say yes to everything, and you don't want to get blacklisted, or you don't want to like ruin your chances. I'll never work in film again. But like if you don't feel safe, or you don't feel like something's kosher for you personally, like you got to stand up for yourself. But then there's other times where like they're putting too much of the work is sliding downhill and falling on you. Maybe I've done jobs where it was just like, oh, you're a loader, you're experienced kind of thing. Cool. Like you don't need our help essentially. And it's just like, no, like we're still a team. We still got to support each other. I'm handling my stuff, but like there was a job that we worked on together, and it was like we had a DIT. It was a big job. It's a really big job. The first 3 days, I did not have a RAID backup, so I didn't have the right drives to download anything to. They were so slow. So I'm there day one. I'm there 2 hours after wrap, and they're just like, yeah, just download it. 2 hours after wrap, and then those drives are full. So I'm starting the next day with nowhere to download anything to. So I've got hot cards with footage on it downloaded to nowhere that I've just got to like hold on to because I'm waiting for them to get me master RAIDs and drives to put this footage somewhere. And I'm like on the phone with the company and like I'm like, can you guys buy something? They're like, oh no, we're renting it out, so they're shipping it to us. It's like renting it from the company that's making the movie.
The parent of the parent.
The parent of the parent of the parent. Like, no, we rent it all through our gear. So it's like you can't just get it from any rental house. You have to use our gear. So I'm like, okay, then get me your gear now. Yeah. And it took like another. So for the first 3 days, I'm like in tears. It's one of the hardest job I've ever done. It's the only job I've ever quit. But it's like you have to be able to know when like this is out of my job description. This is too much, or I'm not getting help, or I've asked for help and I'm still not getting help, kind of thing. Like, the physical, like if the physical toll is starting to get too much. Like, I had a friend who the last job she just did, like she loaded 28,000 feet of film, and she's the only loader. And she said, hire another full-time loader to help me out with like physically moving stuff and getting things. If I'm going to be in the bag all day, hire another loader or I quit. Like, you have to know when like they're asking too much of you, because they'll always ask more and more and more and more, and to see like how far they can get away with it. And you have to know your limits and stuff.
Because if something fucks up,
it falls on you.
It falls back to you, even if they were asking you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember part of what led me to quit was I got really sick. I had just like the stress and the physical toll and the weather and just like the long hours and the not eating. I lost 15 pounds on that job. Wow. And I got bronchitis. And I was like, unfortunately, I do have to quit, and I will die if I continue shooting this. And they were supposed to wrap by December, and they didn't wrap until early February, I think it was.
I don't know. I left.
Yeah, we both left that job. Yeah.
We were two of
You left literally the week before I did.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 of 16 people that quit.
Yeah. 16 people quit. And I remember the gaffer they flew in from...
we were still there. Yeah. More people might have quit afterwards, I'm not sure.
Damn.
Yeah, the gaffer that they flew in from LA, I think, quit as soon as he got there and saw the set. He was like, nope, get someone else. And wait.
I was going to say, the guy that I worked with was...
Yeah, they had a first gaffer.
It's no for me, dog.
Yeah, they had a first gaffer, and he flew out there and saw that they hadn't even like rigged anything yet, but they had built the set already.
Yes.
There was no frame for like to hang lights from.
That was a weird one.
But there was a set already like built in this studio stage kind of thing.
It was an armory.
An armory.
Yeah.
But and he was just like, not for me, dog. Send me back home. Send me back home. It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Yeah. It was a weird one.
It was a weird one, but like you have to know your limits, and like I got to the point where I was just like, I can eat a lot of shit. I can handle a lot of pressure. You can put my feet to the fire, and like I'm a hard worker, and like I know what I can do, and I know I can handle a lot, and I'm strong, and I know my stuff. And it took my dad and my friend and another mutual friend of ours to be like, you need to quit this job. Yeah. You need to quit this job now. It's not good for you, and it's not going to be worth it. Yeah. I took the job. I had 5 days off between the last job I had done and starting that job. I came directly from another job, and they were like, hey, we're starting this job. And it was like a big resume builder. It was like, I have to take this. I want to do more features. I don't want to do as much TV. I have to take this. I got 5 days off between one 4-month job ending and this really hard job starting. And in retrospect, it's like, in my gut, I knew. I was like, I shouldn't have taken this job. Yeah. I knew I needed more rest than this.
It's interesting because it's like, especially when you are confident in your abilities, it's to when you know that you're doing at least the stuff you are doing correctly, and then still getting called out on bullshit that may or may not be, like, that's when you need to like step up and be like, okay, I understand I may have fucked, like, even if you didn't, like, I may have fucked this one thing up, but like, can you look at the 40 things I did correctly?
Yeah.
And it's like, there was so much
nitpicking.
it was just, nobody was grateful for anything that entire show.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one that I had started therapy after that one. So like for real, that was like the.
Well, also, if you're asking for something and you're not getting it, there's only so many times you can ask for it.
Yeah.
Right.
My breaking point was, I was already starting to feel sick, but I was trying to load the Steadicam with the mag, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, it's C, whatever the number was, and I'm trying to remember what number it is to write it down. And one of the people came up and they're like, oh, are you trying to, mess around with the focus thing, or are you trying to mess around with this piece of equipment? Or I forget what a piece of it's like, honestly, a haze. This piece of equipment, like, oh, you know what, go grab this, and this, from my bag and from the truck, and I'll show you how to do this. And this is, like, I'm not in a learning mood. I'm not trying to learn. I'm trying to get this camera loaded so that I can go do something else because I've got, like, 8 bajillion tasks. And he's like, stop everything you're doing so I can show you how to do this thing. And it's just like, while he's talking to me about this thing in my walkie is the second on set being like, hey, we need this thing from the truck. And then it's like, Annie, go get this thing from the truck. And I'm like, okay, copy that. And then after he said that, another person's like, oh, by the way, since you're going to the truck, can you also get this thing? So I now have this person that I'm trying to have a conversation with. I'm trying to remember what number I'm supposed to put on this mag that's going in the camera because it's up next. And then I have 2 pieces of equipment that I have to remember to go grab from the truck and have to go walk off set to go grab for the truck. And it was like, snap. And I took my pouch off and I put it on the Steadicam card. I left the thing there and I took my walkie out and I walked to the truck and I had a panic attack. Oh my God. And that was my breaking point. And it was just kind of like, it was pushed so far past, and it was the thing that taught me, like, I needed to stand up for myself like 2 weeks earlier. But it was so hard from day one. It was just a very hard job. But like, it taught me very much so, like, even though you know your limits and you know you can push your limits, you have to know when you're getting to the point where your limits are going to start getting, like, really pushed. And you need to be like, all right, I got to take care of myself, or I got to protect myself because things are shady, or I've got to, like, this isn't for me kind of thing. And
well, it's in with, like, Mike mentioned, like, knowing what your job is. Like, that one, you
know
were,
what your job is.
as a loader, weren't you sitting in on, like, VFX meetings or something? Like, just that's something that's way
crazy.
over
yeah,
your
there was
pay
like
scale
they were like
kind of
trying to
thing.
get
Like,
me to keep basically a photo book of, like, they wanted me to take stills of stuff for VFX and then print out these stills and like 4x6 like CBS photo stills essentially, and put them in a binder every day and then give that binder to the DP and have him, like, look through it. And that was one of the things where, like, luckily the first were just like, no. No. But it was like, and it was a job that he wanted to do all paper reports kind of thing, which is fine. Paper reports are good, except we were getting rained on a lot. And paper
A lot in the rain.
paper reports melt in the rain. So it was like a thing where it's just like being really protective of that and, like, making sure that it was fine, and, like, having, like, a lot of times I would get the report back from him to go give to the script supervisor, and I'd take a picture of it in case it got melted in the rain somewhere, or it got dropped in a puddle or something. So I just had a record of them. I was scanning them as soon as it was off of the slate.
Yeah.
It's just like things that you do to protect you protect yourself. But it's just like, I shouldn't have had to do a lot of the things that I had to do on that job. And, like, the VFX meetings, like, it was like a thing where it's like, I was like, that's not my job. And I have, like, so much else to, like, keep track of, and there was gear coming in and out, which is, like, is my job. And if you want me to keep track of that and make sure nothing breaks and make sure we get everything returned, and whatnot, and everything's in good condition, and we get the stuff from Panavision that we need, or we get the stuff from this that we need, like, you can't keep giving me tasks, like, to stack on top of it. Like, even if I'm handling all the things, like, I can handle all the responsibilities of a loader, but once you start making that, oh, but you're also doing post-production work, or, oh, but you're also, like, keeping stuff. We had VTR. I don't know why I had to keep a physical book. We have iPads with stills on it. Like, we had the video playback guy. So it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
You also quit, I
CVS
believe.
and print some pictures for me.
I remember.
Well,
like,
no, they wanted me to print it on the truck. They wanted me to, like, they were going to give me a printer to, like, print it on the truck.
that's cute.
They're like, oh, can your printer, like, handle this? I'm like, yes. Like, you can pay for the paper, and, like, they'll pay for the paper and everything, and, like, whatnot. But it's like, and the ink and whatnot. But I'm like, when am I going to have time to do
Can
this?
you
Do you
get
want
me
me
a
to stay for
drive first?
Yeah, can you get me drives that work first? And then I'd be fucking happy to. But yeah, like standing up for yourself is important, and knowing when you're approaching that limit and knowing when they're asking you to do things. It's like, you need to be hiring another person.
I remember the prep shoot on that. It's like we had just gotten all the carts. We're unloading all the carts. Like, we're learning the gear, because especially in the electric department, like, this gaffer's got completely different stuff than this gaffer. Where is it laid out? All that kind of stuff. And I remember the board op calling me over, and he's like, "Hey, I want to show you how this works." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And it was like just one of those straight up, like, I have no interest in learning what's here because I'm learning that. And he's like, "Hey, man, this is your career. You got to learn this stuff." I was like, "Sorry, this is your career, and I'm not covering you.
Yeah.
Bye." And we did not get along the rest of that entire shoot. But it's like, I don't need to suck your dick. I'm sorry. Like, I know what my position is, and I'm comfortable in my position right now. That's where because I'm not getting a pay bump. Like,
$25 more.
no, there's not. It's not. It's now I have to sit at this board and get yelled at by the gaffer because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing because that guy wants to go to Crafty. Like, no, sorry.
Yeah, it's because it's interesting too, because it's like I had said, like, you teach someone to be able to cover you kind of thing. But it's like in our department, like, everyone, it's a very direct line. But I would imagine, like, in other departments, it's like, I'm not interested in taking this avenue. So, like, the DIT, like, I don't cover the DIT because I don't want to know how to do DIT stuff.
Right.
But if I was a loader who did, like my friend who is currently now going into DIT work and leaving loading to go do DIT work, like, she wanted to know that stuff. So she didn't mind covering the loader because it was her getting to learn stuff. Meanwhile, I didn't mind covering the second because that's what I wanted to learn. So, like, there's a line, and it's like, I can't say no to covering people because of the way my department functions. But if you're able to do that,
there's 4 other thirds that could have done it.
Exactly,
I didn't want to do it.
I can't say no to that. But if there's other people who can, like, learn that and who want to, like, don't teach the guy who doesn't want to learn how to do the dimmer board.
Yeah.
Like, teach the person who's like, oh, I'm interested in taking this avenue. Spread the knowledge to the people who want it.
Yeah. Do you remember if there was a specific reason why you didn't want to quit? Was it because you just didn't want that sort of reputation as someone else
Pride,
quitting?
dude.
Pride. There was pride. Sort of. It was more just like the resume. Like, it was like, I want to do features. I don't want to do TV as much. I've done a lot of TV. This could be my gateway in. And also just like, it was a harder job. I had just, I had done a couple easy jobs in a row where it was like, it really got my feet under me and felt really comfortable being a loader. And I was like, I'm good at this. Like, I got this. Let's do a hard job and, like, really
test my
test
skills.
myself.
Yeah.
But I
Mistakes
look
were
back on
made.
it, and it's like, if I hadn't come right off of another job where I was already kind of exhausted, like, I think I would have lasted that whole thing. But I just like wasn't in the place to do that. But it was a hard job regardless, and I didn't want to quit because it was like, no, I know I can do this, but I can do this if I had started it at 100%. I started it at like 60%.
Yeah. It's also like you're thrown to the wolves with an entirely out of town department. Like, so there is that thing where, like, the familiarity, yes, you need to learn all the nuances of this first and this second from this job to that one. But when you have to
I
learn,
had never worked with
when you have to
anyone
learn
on
7
that
new
team.
people at the exact same time, then it's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, the operators are always, out of towners usually, or the DPs are always out of towners. So you're always, like, learning new people. But, like, often you'll have at least one person that you know. But, like, even the utility that I'd hired, I knew her, like,
Of her.
but I hadn't worked with her before. So it's like, not only am I with new people completely from out of town, but I'm also with someone who I like and who I was like, yeah, hire her. I've heard good things, but I haven't worked with her yet. And there were things that, like, I had to teach her, like that, was just like, I was like, oh, okay, like, this is something that you do that you don't know. And she ended up taking over the rest of that loading job, which was good because it was a job where, like, everyone knew, like, oh, this is her first loading job. The team circled around her and helped her learn all this loading stuff. And she did great. And that's awesome. But it just means it wasn't the job for me. I don't know. There's like an inner peace you have to reach where it's just like, the jobs that are meant for me, I'll attract. Like, the jobs that are meant for me will come to me, hopefully. You just have to kind of keep reminding yourself of that.
Yeah,
I
there'll
think
always be another one.
Yeah.
there's also, like, a point where you just have to say no. Like, saying yes is a great way to get in, but then there's a turn where you have to say no more than yes.
I think it's after once you've kind of seen enough shit.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen enough shit go wrong. You're not so green anymore, and you're kind of like, that's not the way that's
Red
supposed
flags,
to be.
you
Yeah,
know?
you start seeing the red flags. Everything's not
That's
so
the
new.
A camera.
Yeah,
That's the.
Yeah.
everything's not so new and shiny.
I mean, when they're like going to Best Buy and pulling Western digital drives for you, and they're like, "Here you go," you're like,
do that to me. Flashbacks, war flashbacks. It's like, hey, did you know that I literally can't download to this thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's wild.
But yeah, it's knowing how things are supposed to run, and then when things aren't running that way, being like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
So sorry. You're wrong. I would like for you to do things the correct way so that the job can get done.
Yeah.
And I'm not pulling my hair out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you probably now have other ways to avoid getting in those horrible jobs. You probably have like a support network of other loaders that you communicate with.
Yeah, I have. While I was like, I'm of the loaders in Boston, there was like, for a while, there was kind of like 3 main people, and we had a group chat that was just like Loaders Anonymous, and the 3 of us would be like, hey, I'm getting this rate on this job. Like, did they ask you? Like, what are they offering you? So like, talking about our rates with each other, and like, or being like, hey, I'm building this, I'm putting my computer in a Pelican case because I have to go load from a van. How should I do this? What would you put on this? Like, so, and they're like friends of mine who I would hang out with outside of work anyway. But like, you find those people that like you get tight with and you can talk shop with, but you could also just like hang with. And then as it kind of expanded, like more and more people, we got more and more loaders in town. It was cool because it felt like, it's like, oh, we already have the other 3 of us kind of have like a system going, and we can pass down this knowledge to the next like string of loaders coming in who are starting to come up. And again, they can take the pieces that they like from each of us because they've all worked with each of us, and we all have similar styles, but they're very different in specific ways. Like, we all have the same master Excel spreadsheet for time cards, and we all got the original version, but now that original version we all got has branched off, and mine looks completely different from theirs because they've messed around with different formulas and stuff. And like, I was like, oh, mine calculates prevailing rate meal penalties, and like mine, it's like, oh, mine does like a little, like this little thing for like mileage, it auto calculates this. We're nerds. We're huge nerds. And like between note taking and Excel spreadsheets, sometimes my partner is just like, I thought you were cooler than this. I thought you
tricked them with the patches and the stickers.
Yeah, right. It's like I know that like all of like the patches and the stickers and everything has stickers on it. I thought you were cooler than this. And no, it's actually, I'm a gigantic dork. Gotcha. I know my mystique and green hair fooled you.
I'm surprised you guys use like, there's Time Card Buddy. Like, there's an app that
there
does,
is.
like,
it's really hard when you have a big department and a lot of out-of-towners with like all these like very specific contract details.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I've tried it. Travis has showed it to me,
Yeah.
and I've tried it a couple times, and I'm still futzing with it, but it's not modular enough.
Yeah.
There's some things with, especially with the new prevailing rate stuff, and because we don't NDB, and like there's a lot of like 600 specific things. And love doing a paper time card sometimes.
All right.
Love a good old fashioned paper time card. My first job that I worked
I've
in,
never heard anyone say that.
well, it's like you got to know how to do it.
No,
Like,
I know, but I've never heard anyone go like, paper time.
well, well, it's like sometimes it's like there's like the like my job is so on a computer that sometimes like the tacticalness of writing it down and being like writing it all out and just being like, okay, this is what it is, and then maybe translating it to digital later, but like also like the mobility of taking it off my phone sometimes. But the first job I did, I wasn't a loader yet, but the guy who brought me in essentially was like, you're going to learn how to do paper time cards before anyone teaches you anything about all these fun new systems of like digital stuff. Like, you need to learn the rules of how to do a time card, because eventually this is going to be your responsibility, and people don't like when you mess up their money. And you're 23, don't mess up their money. So, and like there was a couple of jobs that I got because like people would like, check to make sure, they're always checking to make sure you're doing the time cards
They're
right.
like, Annie's giving us extra money. What's up?
Slipping a little. No. But you'll get hired again if you, like, it's another thing. It's like, if you do your job good, people will notice that. And like, I did a job where they were like, our time cards were never wrong. Like, our time cards were good for this whole job. And we really didn't have any issues with like having to do corrections too much on this one. And it was like, because like I was like, it was the first time I was doing time cards like on my own. So I was triple, quadruple checking them. And not everyone likes to do this. I like to do time cards Saturday morning because I'm so tired at the end of a Friday, maybe Saturday night kind of thing. Like I'm so tired at the end of the day, at the end of the week, that it's just like, I want to like do this right and make sure like everything tracks. And you know, like they're not going to actually process the time cards till Sunday usually. I'm going to, you know, go home on my computer and like pull up my Google spreadsheet and fill out the time cards that way so I can like sit. I got my coffee. I got my time cards up. I got music playing. It's like my Zen mode kind of thing. And some people, you know, like to just get it all done at night and they can do that. I, again, bad at math. I really need to like be in the zone for it. And that ensures that everyone, you know, that all
there's a lot of people too that would, I mean, that I know that would probably frown upon that because you're working off the clock.
Yes, but you're
choosing to.
You're not, because I'm like the hour that I'm taking to do the time cards on Saturday morning
is somewhere else.
I'm putting it at the end of my Friday night because it's like you can pay me to do my time cards on the truck at the end of the night for an hour, and you can also pay my teamster.
Yep.
And the PA who's, you know, standing there with us, or I can put my hour on the end of that, you know, Friday night, and then I can just go home and hand them in Saturday afternoon, and they'll be all right, and there'll be less errors and things like that. And it's some people might frown on it because you're working off the clock, but it's just like, for me at least, it gives me the ease, the mental like satisfaction that like I know this is right. And I know I'm not going to have to redo them. And there's so many little specific contract details for out-of-towners and like the new prevailing rate. Like a big thing about being a loader is understanding our contracts. Like that's something that I like didn't realize when I first got in. It was just like, oh, you kind of got to know the paperwork. You kind of got to know the rules. And like, again, going back to protecting yourself and protecting your people and your department, it's like, you got to know like what they can do, like how many meal penalties did we get? Like we're keeping track of that always. We're keeping track of like when we hit prevailing. We're keeping track of, I have a little calculator in my thing that calculates people's turnaround. I'm like, okay, they have to be out by this time, otherwise they're forced. And if they're forced, I have to call the producer and be like, hey, you're gonna force my department if, you know, this, that, or the other thing. You know, you have to keep track of out-of-towners have travel time, portal to portal. Like there's all these like little things that like stressed me out so much the first time I did it, but like the more you do it, the more you learn. And there's the resources on the 600 website. And my 600 also offers training. So I did like the film loader training, which is like a 2-day video Zoom thing. And I learned all about time cards. And like I already knew a lot of it, but it was like there are little contract things that I didn't know. And there was an AC training that I like did a video conference. And there's just like things that you get more experience that like, I guess it's all theory, you know, you're not like physically doing it, but like it's just like good to know how other people did it before you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You keep talking about learning things and taking notes, and this is insane.
My camera book.
We should have had it come down like on a string.
Not everyone, not.
Yeah.
I don't know who does. Not everyone does this. I don't think.
I'm glad that our sticker made it.
Rigs.
I'm glad that like of the few stickers that are there, we made it.
Well, I wanted only black and white stickers on it because it's a black and white
Nailed
thing.
It.
And then, well, I used it a lot more when I was a utility, when I was really, really new. Like, so here's like the truck setup of like the first truck that I worked on, because I was like, I gotta know where everything is. I'm coming into this job halfway through, so I like drew out a map of the truck and was like, this is where this is and this is where this is, and if they ask me for this thing, I know that it's in this shelf, like, because it was a really small truck and everything was crammed everywhere, so you couldn't always see the labels. But like, there's notes and notes and notes of just like things that I learned on the day to day, and like it helped me learn that. It helped me learn like the process, like there's drawings of batteries and like there's like, you know.
I can tell you went to art school.
Yeah. Your partner thought you were cool.
They didn't. It lasted about 2 days. And then
What's in this book? Oh my
God. You geek. They literally, I think it was like 2 days into like knowing me, like they're like, I don't know if I've ever watched someone like roll a nat 1 on charisma in real life. And I was just like, well, you're stuck with me.
Even that reference is nerdy.
I know. But yeah, like I have lens notes. I have little drawings of lenses and stuff, because it was all like super specific stuff that I was just like, I'm getting these nuggets of wisdom all day. So I'm jotting them down on my phone. and then how to do a lens test, like things that like I'm not going to be doing this every day. Like I'm not going to be doing this specific situation every day, but it's something important that I will have to do again at some point. And the way my brain learns is that like I am really good if I get to do the thing. Like if I can physically learn how to do the thing by doing it. Great way for me to learn. But if I can't physically do the thing, I need to jot down what you're telling me and then revisit it. Like I can listen to you and get it down and not like fully absorb it, but like once I write it down a second time and like replay that process of learning it in my head, like a movie, it'll stick better. Like I have.
Yeah, you're home filming shorts on how to do these too.
Yeah. So the film job I just did a film job, and I like hadn't loaded a mag in a really long time, and I was just like, okay, let's do like a little mental like game of like, okay, what does the inside of a mag look like again? Like mentally imagining, you know, how it feels to be in the bag, and like mentally imagining like, and just like also like looking up, you know, YouTube videos or whatever, and just like refreshing stuff, and like going through those YouTube videos and going through my notes from other film jobs I had done and being like, okay, I remember this is this thing, and you've got to hold the mag this way. So this was like pre-doing the job. And then this is all the stuff that I learned on the job. This is all the stuff that like throughout the day, like of just like tips and tricks of like, if you're on a film, like a film set every single day, like you're getting into a system, and I'm day playing. So I'm not in that system fully. So this is me like learning it the best I can so that on the next job, I'll be a little more versed with the system kind of thing. Redundancy in big red letters. Yeah. Redundancy, write things 8 bajillion times down.
I mean, the notebook makes sense to me because, I mean, as a person who has to load film, it's a very tactile thing. You have to be there's a relationship with the thing you're working with.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for someone learning to load film in a bag? What are you feeling for when you're in that bag? That's the other thing. You got to do that without your eyes.
It's another thing where it's like a muscle memory thing. I don't have the reps of film loading just yet under my belt, but the times that I have, like, I, again, like a very like tactile visual learner. So like I think about whatever the last time that I loaded film was Challengers in like 2022, whatever it was. It's the last time that I physically was in a bag and like got to like do stuff. So I'm like remembering, like if I had like closed my eyes, and like I'm remembering, okay, like, you know, the mag is in here, and I've got, you know, my film that I'm, you know, loading into the mag on my left side. I've got, or if I'm downloading it, I'm putting the can on the right side. Like you're imagining what's in the bag, like visually. So I'm like imagining if I'm looking at it and I can see it, but it's based off of feel. But I know what it looks like if it's in the light, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does like Rule or like Panavision in New York, do they, like if you went there and you said I wanted to learn how to, like they have dummy rolls and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, Rule Boss and Camera. I have to go back and do it again soon. But like they're like dummy loads of film that you can like go and just be like, give me a mag, I want to practice like loading kind of thing. You can do that. And like I said, there's trainings and stuff where like now that COVID restrictions are less, I hope they'll do more in-person trainings again, because it's such a tactile experience. Like getting the actual like hands-on hours is like really, really important. And again, it's a muscle memory thing. So it's like you'll learn it down pat when you have the days in a row to like be doing it every day.
Yeah.
It's a system that you're learning, that you're memorizing and like repeating over and over and over again. And it's just a lot of double, triple checking yourself and making sure that you're doing it the same exact way every time, because that's how you don't mess up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A freestyle bit today.
One hand. Jazz.
But you're just like learning also like things about like film like stocks in general. Like I'm a pretty big nerd, but like on that job, like I had friends who were on this last job that I did that are like such bigger like film, like shooting 35 millimeter like film stills, like just like shooting film more than I do. And I was like, oh,
was Tom there?
No, just people who like work on film more. It was Matt, it was my friend Matt, and he's just like nerding out over like this, and we shot it at this exposure, and it like actually gave it like this look, and talking like about like just like the chemical processes of film and developing film, and like this whole other side of things that like I don't know sometimes is forgotten in the digital age, that like a lot of people like, because I came in through the digital side of things and then learned film. I didn't learn analog film in college. They didn't teach it. It's too expensive sometimes. I didn't even learn 16 millimeter in college. We just didn't have the resources for it. But some people do learn that in school. But like getting to experience that on set is really, really cool, because like sometimes when new, especially like younger people are coming in, they have no point of reference for it. So it's like a lot of like, it's like, no, you got to remember that like, this is where all the digital fun stuff came from.
This is where the discipline was fucking learned.
This is where you had notes.
Yeah.
You did rehearsals.
This is why we cut.
Blocking.
But what's the thing? Respect the process. Yeah. Respect the process.
You don't shoot the rehearsal when you're going with film.
Yeah.
Go figure.
You don't.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
If you shoot the rehearsal, it's not a rehearsal.
Not a rehearsal. There's a whole difference between like an analog job and like a digital job, because it's just like, it's digital, like shoot that mag out, like no problem, like just keep going. Don't cut, never cut on a digital job. Please cut on a digital job. You're making your poor loaders so sad.
Yeah, she's working on Saturdays, guys.
If you start the job by like telling the UPM like, hey, if they don't cut, I have an extra hour of work every night. I wonder if that like money, there's money.
No,
it's not enough money.
Not enough money. But the other thing is, it's like, a good loader, like I said, would know when to, like, all right, when am I going to break the camera to pull this mag, push it over. When am I going to smash the camera because I don't want to work anymore today? Hour 14. What if we just tipped the dolly over? Actually, maybe a tangent, but there was a job that I was on that I sat down at the focus monitor and just like messing around or whatever. And I, spun the dial just to kind of like see how it felt or whatever, the focus handset. And I spun the dial. And just as I spun the dial on this lens, someone picked the camera up this way. So they popped it off the plate and pulled the camera off. So the whole frame goes like this. And my friend's watching me and sees my face white. Like all the color drained from my face, because in the moment, I thought me sliding the thing tipped the camera off the dolly. It was like, and we see like that it goes under the, what on their shoulder, or someone picked it up. But it was just like, it's like, because I'm not on the set. I'm like far away, and it's just like, oh, okay. But he saw the color drain from my face, and still he'll like reference that and be like, he's like, you want to knock the camera off?
That's amazing.
Yeah. You want to throw it to infinity and tip the camera over? Yeah, I was like,
oh my
and I'll never work again.
I was going to transition that to, snacks, because I feel like you need something to keep your day going, right?
Gotta keep going.
14-hour day, yeah.
People who get real hangry.
Hey,
if you
just
don't
knock the
feed them
camera
constantly.
over.
Knock the camera over. It's a wrap. Snacks are so important. I keep a little, like I said, I keep a little bin of snacks on the truck. Sometimes we'll keep a little snack bin on the lens cart. Always have gum. Camera people really like gum. I don't chew gum, but camera people seem to really like gum.
It's a weird thing to have close to set.
Yeah.
Is it? But like it keeps your...
Yeah, but right next to set.
One of the things you'll always have in a run bag or have on your pouch is a pack of gum, because even if you don't chew it...
You stink. That's all it is.
That's why no one comes near me. Oftentimes people will ask for gum, especially after lunch. But they're like little things like that. It depends. I feel like
Crispy Boys is like...
Crispy Boys is the biggest thing. Seltzers, just like the amount of times where it's just like, let's do a round of Crispies. It's like, all right, and you go and take 8 like soda cans back from Crafty to...
You're not juggling. You guys all have your little like, or at least Keenan has his little like holding
the
thing.
Ari bag.
No,
It's like
legit,
a drink holder thing.
Yeah.
It's like a 6-pocket like...
What? It's like a
collapsible
fold-out,
like
8-pack. Like, it's wild. It's
Camera
hilarious.
is like, you guys have like such
Dialed in.
specific things for very specific, and it's like a one-purpose
Yeah, we
thing.
bougie.
Yeah.
Bougie as fuck sometimes. Like, it's because like, I don't know, like a lot of people that I've worked with, it's like, we like it because it's nice. Like, we want it that way because it's nice that way and it looks good that way. There's a lot of perception that you think about. Yeah, it's aesthetic. There's a lot of aesthetic. You gotta like, look clean, look tight and kind of thing. It's like you got your, utility coming in, juggling, 8, cans of seltzers or whatever.
You don't look cool, man.
You don't look cool. You come in with your little drink holder 6-pack. You haven't spilled a drop of coffee. Like, you look great. Or you can do what I did. I never had the drink holder when I was utility. But what I did do is I had the magical ability of fitting as many seltzers in my pockets as possible, because I always had a really big jacket. So it was like literally just like literally that. And because I remember one time I pulled a full iced coffee out of my chesty. And I thought the camera operator was going to fall off the dolly laughing. They're just like, why was that in there? There's several videos of me pulling the most absurd things out of my chest pouch. Pocky. There's one of me pulling a teacup out of there because I found a teacup on set. And I was just like, this is going in. Yeah. Always. The pouch is for snacks. The chest pouch is for snacks. Especially if you're a loader, you always want to have, I always have candy in there. I have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
If my big snack on set is dark chocolate. I'll always have like the little Ghirardelli squares or whatever dark chocolate they have at Crafty. I'm loading up on that, or I'm loading up on like mints a lot of the time. Some people are fruit snacks people. I like dark chocolate. Always have granola bars. I will always throw whatever type of granola bars the ACs like in their run bag, because even if they can't step off set, even if I can't go and cover them, even if it just needs to get them to something, like that they have that option if they need it. And then sometimes you'll like go and run and do snack runs for them. They're like, I need a peanut butter and jelly to save my life right now. Could you please go get me one from Crafty? And it's like, you'll go do that. But snacks are a big thing. Gotta keep that fuel going.
Yeah.
Keeps morale high too.
Keeps morale high. If you come in with like a hot coffee and like, a couple like cheese, like a cheese plate, like, oh, they'll love you forever.
Cheese plate.
Sometimes people like.
There's some life-saving crafty departments.
There are some life-saving crafty. We love a cheese board in Boston for some reason.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, I don't know, a lot of camera people are health nuts, especially Steadicam operators. Your body's your tool.
Well, that checks out. I mean,
your body's your tool, so it's like so a lot of it, like, everyone has a specific thing. A lot of like cashews and almonds.
Yeah,
is a big one.
You also just don't want to feel heavy. Like if you have,
you don't want to feel. You're already like. I've tried on a Steadicam rig before, and I was like, cool, this thing feels like it's trying to rip my spine out of my body. Like it's trying to pull my body this way while my spine is going this way.
Yeah, that's by design.
Yeah, it's a little too big for me. But yeah, I'd love, my personal track is I want to kind of go up the ranks, and Steadicam is kind of in the distance maybe. But operating in general is kind of where I want to end up.
Nice.
So I thought I wanted to be a DP, but that's a lot of politics to deal with. And, I wouldn't say no to DP, but right now my goal kind of is to end up as an operator. I think it's so fun to kind of be on set all the time and just like get to.
Yeah, DPing is less
that.
about, I think people think it's like operating and that. It's more like managing people.
And it's also, it's lighting a lot. It's you're paying attention to the look of everything, whereas the operators are paying attention a lot more to the movement of everything.
Yeah, because how you said it,
moving.
where it was like the first AC is kind of the boss of that department. That's how I've always seen it
Yeah.
too.
The first AC is often the person who's hiring the locals and all of the under people essentially. But it's the first AC is kind of how it's like your drill sergeant essentially. It's who's running the department, and then you've got like your big bosses who are making the movie, I guess. I don't know. We're all making the movie, but like who are paying attention to the aesthetics and the way everything looks, and where the wheels that are making sure that they can do that. So
Yeah.
Is there any cool, I guess, like, would it be like a camera rig, or like what would you call it?
Yeah, it'd be a camera rig. I've done a lot of like second unit stunt things, and I've done like a lot of like cool like car stuff. And I worked on the second unit of the Boston unit of Instigators that I think was Apple TV. I don't know. It just came out recently. But Instigators, and it was just, we were smashing cars for 2 weeks, and it was so fun. We shut down the tunnel, the 93 tunnel in Boston. We shut down the tunnel, and we did this huge crash rig thing, and I was seconding for it. I was the array camera second, so I've got like 6 Komodos, little Komodo cameras that are like this big, just like juggling them and and you'd be like, okay, we're going to put them on this car, and then we're going to smash it. Okay, and then we're going to take all of those off, and we're going to put it in a fire truck. And then we're going to take all of those off, and we're going to put it on a police military thing, and then we're going to run it into a fire truck. And it's just like, it was so fun. It was so fun. But it's also hectic and crazy because you're like, you're on the road, you're in this, there's, you have to make sure you're being safe on top of everything. But like, you're doing overnights and whatnot, but it's cool. And we had, Luckily, I wasn't loading that one. I felt my poor friend Jeff was loading that one.
Yeah,
And there's like
he's like,
eight cameras that he's just like keeping track of, and love him. But the cool thing was just like you get to smash stuff, and like we like fully wrecked some. I think it was another Komodo. One of the Komodos was the crash camera, and we put it in a little plexiglass box. But when they called cut, I started walking towards set, and I'm like, that's a battery, and that's a piece of the side of it, and that's the that's the lens, and then that's and you're just like picking up the pieces of it as you're going, because eventually like
Jeff.
yeah, well you do kind of collect it all and put it in a box and like take a picture of it, and you're like, this is what we did to it. Insurance.
Yeah.
Like
Do you have to take, like, after each stunt, are you offloading the cards right then? Because there's a chance that on the next stunt, the card explodes?
It depends.
Like, if you know a camera's breaking, like...
Yeah, if it's a crash camera, like, usually you get one take of a crash camera. Like, you crash it, and then that's it. And then you take the card out. And usually, sometimes with crash cameras, some of them will do, especially if they have VTR, they'll do like it's broadcasting to something else, and we're recording it on the second thing while we're shooting it, just in case.
Like a proxy of...
a proxy, essentially. But most of the time, you'll pull the camera out, and you'll pull the card out, and I haven't had one be where the card is smashed, too. I haven't had that happen
You will
yet.
now. You said it out loud.
Right? I know, right? It's fine. But the thing is, if the card is smashed, it's like, sorry, can't download it. It's like,
Right.
okay. Get another one. We'll do it again. Hope the card doesn't smash.
yeah,
Whatever.
smash it again.
Yeah, I have so many pictures of just like cop cars just like in pieces from this job. It was so fun. We smashed cars all day. It was great. And it was just like everyone's like recording it like every time.
How do you just get on like the second unit? Like I remember at Good Burger, there was a couple days where it's just like there was the puppet unit, and I was like, I'm here this whole time and I don't get to play with the puppets. Like, why can't the core people do the
Because you're not cool,
Yeah,
Bert.
Right, I
sometimes-
know, but like,
Grumpy.
how,
It's
like
aesthetic and vibe, Bert. Don't be an
You're
asshole,
too much
Bert.
like a Muppet yourself. They're like, they won't be able to tell the difference.
God damn it.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes you just fall into really cool jobs. I would have never expected to be the array camera second on a stunt unit, but they were like, we need someone who's good and who's going to do the job and who's, knows how to hustle. Hey, Annie, come be like the F camera a second
Awesome.
kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, let's do that. It's experience,
Everyone actually have its own like first, second.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Especially on a union thing, like if you have a camera, you need a crew for each camera. So there are some jobs where like it's like, oh, you'll hire a first, and that first will have like 3 DSLRs, or like they're in charge of all of the GoPros.
Yeah.
And they'll just hire one assistant for that. But like if it's like a full proper camera, like if it's a
Well, I know there's like a difference between like a splinter and a tandem.
yes.
Like it's like some of it even comes down to like just DGA. It's like, is there a first or is there actually a director? And then like, is it going back to...
I don't know if I'll ever fully understand
No,
that,
but it's like, are you going back to the main unit and they're referencing it and they're in charge, or is it
are
like
you
a
fully
separate? Yeah.
and like you're keeping track? Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like to have an F camera. It's like, okay, you have 10 ACs now. You have 5 operators. You have
and
like
it also depends too, because it's like, it's related to the body. So like whatever serial number is on that body goes with a letter. So like the serial number with the A camera will always be the A camera, unless we for some reason swap that body out to a different one, and then that's the new A camera. But you will never have the difference would be like on a full separate unit, like a full second unit. You might also have an A camera and a B camera and whatever.
Right.
But you might have it be like a X camera, or like everything. There's some distinction between them, but it's more just like filing
extreme.
and numbering and keeping organized, like your number systems and your rolls and your takes. It's all the same thing. And the loader does a lot of that. The loader and the DIT by primarily will decide what the cameras are going to be called a lot of time, and in conjunction with the script supervisor.
Just come up with nicknames for him.
Sometimes if you do a second unit, it'll be like, okay, first unit is the A, B, and C camera, and second unit is the X, Y, and Z camera. Like they'll be as far apart as possible so that there
cute.
could not be any whatever. Yeah, I think the deepest I've gone without, like, in a row, I think the deepest I've gotten was S&T. I had an S&T camera one time.
Was it fucking the Matrix freeze frame rig? Like,
No, that was the Komodos with the array. Like, it was like the R, T, S, and Q camera was our Komodos
Crazy.
in the crash rig, yeah.
that's
They had
cool.
a lot of cameras on that job.
Then you got to do double letters.
Yeah. We put one on a rooftop and we're like, bye-bye now. We'll see you at Rap. There was other people on a different rooftop with it, and they're, so they'll put cameras anywhere.
Like in the bushes.
In the bushes.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Annie, this has been awesome chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing all your wisdom. And maybe when you come back, you'll be back on as a camera operator or steady cam operator.
That'd be so
We'll do
cool.
another episode.
That'd be so cool. I'll see you in like 20 years.
It won't be podcast by then. It'll just be like holograms.
We'll just think of it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Put me in the ground.
Well, we will put Annie's information in the description below so you know where to find them. And thank you guys for tuning in and for watching. And if you made it this far, appreciate you sitting in and watching for 2.5 hours or however long this is. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Cheers. Yeah.
I just started a different podcast that was like, if you made it this far, thank you, or you're asleep, so shh.